Yeah, buddy. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the seventh episode of the Near Mint Hockey Card Podcast. I don't know if we'll keep counting every time. It's kind of fun, though, to say episode seven. At some point, maybe we'll be just so high that we won't even care. It'll just be like, whatever, the millionth episode. But for now, it's number seven, and we've got a big one for you today. I'm Elon Dubrovsky. With me is Ryan Krieg. How you doing, Ryan?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Pretty darn good. I'm excited for today's topic, which is selling. So we did a whole episode a few weeks ago about buying, specifically on eBay, and how to successfully bid. Now we're doing the opposite side of it. Like you have some stuff that you want to unload. You have your cards that you think it's time to sell. And obviously, we have to talk about whether it's even a good time to sell the card that you're thinking of selling. Maybe the best advice we'll give is to not sell. But yeah, we'll try to give some tips on how to get the most out of your cards. Before we get to that, last week we talked about card grading, and I got pretty inspired from all the talk about how much more value your cards have once they're graded. And also, I also got inspired by the fact that it's going to take like 6+ months to get a card graded. So yeah, the thought that I guess a lot of people probably had and we discussed was maybe just buy the card already graded, then you could get it right away. So I did that. Have you bought any graded cards lately? After the last episode, I've got 3 graded cards that I've bought since then.
I don't think I've gotten any that recently. I think maybe the last one I got was the Galchenyuk that we discussed at length offline.
Yes, so we should discuss that. Like that's one. Oh, well, I don't want to spoil the story here, but yeah, I think it was after that episode or maybe right before it, but you dropped on the Keeping Karlsson Hockey Cards Discord channel, which we link in the show notes, by the way. If you want to get in and chat about hockey cards with us, come there because we're having a lot of fun. Yeah, so you dropped that you bought a Galchenyuk Young Guns PSA 10 for like not much, right? Like $30.
I think it was $32 Canadian with like shipping and all the costs included.
Right. And like that's probably the cheapest you could spend on a PSA 10 Young Guns, right?
Yeah, so I mean what I was doing was just going to PSA 10 on eBay and sorting by lowest buy now price. And he was really the only player that was active and like had potential below below 40 to $50. In the $30 range, it's like guys that have retired, guys that suck. Like so he kind of stood out to me as like, he's been disappointing, but there's at least a chance there.
And yeah,
Um
he's a former third overall pick. He did have that 30 goal season with the Habs. This is while he was still a UFA, right? This is before he signed with the Sens. And
yeah.
I recall, so you posted that, then a bunch of people, and you've glommed me into that group. I don't think I was that group, but a bunch of people were like, that's a terrible decision. Galchenyuk sucks, and you've wasted your money. Then I believe I said something along the lines of, well, I guess I assume you're hoping that he's going to sign somewhere where he'll have a chance to shine. And I think I even dropped that maybe Ottawa would be a good place for him because, first of all, Ottawa cards seem to sell pretty well compared to other teams. And also, of all the teams that need a top line center or even like a middle six winger, Ottawa is one of them that actually has a spot for him potentially. And that's where he signed. And you must have been pretty happy.
Yeah, it was a good landing spot for both him and me as a card owner. And the interesting thing there is the cards that were listed below $50 have kind of all sold. So,
One of
if we're
them.
thinking about selling, I could sell it today and already have kind of flipped that Galchenyuk. And maybe I should, but
Yeah, maybe we'll just talk about that today. Galchenyuk is definitely someone who we will learn pretty quickly whether he's going to take this opportunity on a $1 million 1 year contract to like turn his career around, or is this going to be like his last year in the league? And by the end of the season, he's in the AHL, and the next year he signs in like Switzerland or something. So I feel like there's a wide variance of how this can go for Galchenyuk, but yeah, I mean, he had the talent. And actually, as soon as I saw he signed with Ottawa, I got excited. And I was one of those people who bought one of those less than $50 ones on eBay. I found a $40 buy it now. That was like that moment. Like you posted,
yeah.
Galchenyuk got signed, and I was like, search, buy. $40 before I even had a chance to think about it. Then I started regretting it instantly, but now I'm kind of excited for it to come, especially because that's not the only PSA 10 I bought last week. I bought another Ottawa Senator in Brady Kachuk. So I put my
Ooh.
money where my mouth is from a couple episodes ago when we were doing our buy low guys. And so Brady Kachuk for, not pennies, but it was 110. And, considering it's like $25 or so to get raw Kachuk, I thought might as well go for it. I really like his chance to really balloon into a star. And I gave my reasons on those. That this was a couple weeks ago. So I'm excited to now have Kachuk. I already have Shabbat from a while ago, PSA 10. Now I'm getting this Galchenyuk. So I'm building up my Ottawa Senators collection. I'm wearing my Sens hat today. I'm back. I think I have to go back to being a Sens fan now. They don't have Erik Karlsson anymore, but now I'm kind of invested.
Yeah, you're like literally invested in the Ottawa Senators' success, or at least them being exciting to watch, or some reason for people to be talking about them.
Yeah, that's
Which,
the thing. Like, yeah, we've just started this podcast, right? And there hasn't actually been hockey aside from like the end of the playoffs since we started it. Like, it'll be really fun now to watch these games and cheer not only from the people on my fantasy teams, but like I'll be cheering for Kachuk to score a hat trick and then quickly go and see if his card value's gone up.
yeah, it is interesting how that kind of triggers things, but it's not like we've been without events, right? Like I was talking a while back about how if you're going to buy cards, you need that purpose. And one of those things that I was looking at was UFA guys. So I got, I still have a couple Hoffman cards, Galchenyuk. I was buying up a couple guys that were UFA or even RFA that I thought could move teams and have that impact their value. So, yeah.
Okay, well, the thing is now we'll have to decide whether maybe we could decide by the end of this episode whether or not you're listing your Galchenyuk today or not, because I feel like
Actually,
that's yeah.
yeah, that would be a really let's end the show on that. We'll be like, okay, should I go list it like in 20 minutes or no?
Yeah, and after we've gone through all of our checklist of things to consider,
Yeah.
I'll tell you about one more purchase I made. It's also kind of an update because last week's show we were talking about grading, and I believe I was talking about this Panarin Raw card that I bought at Young Guns that I was disappointed in because it had a bit of like a bad corner. And that was one of the examples we were giving of why maybe you don't want to spend a lot of money on raw cards because sure, I guess I could have like put up a stink and tried to return it. I don't know, like quite a hassle, for in the end, like $40, but I was very disappointed in it. Then I got invited to this Facebook group by you. And so that's another, by the way, another tip we should probably add or do on another episode. Like there's other places aside from eBay and Kijiji to buy these cards. There's apparently a whole bunch of Facebook groups out there of people buying and selling and saving on all the fees, which we're going to get to in this episode. eBay takes a lot of fees when you sell a card. Anyway, yeah. So some guy posted like, I'm looking for Panarin Young Guns. And so that made life pretty easy. I was like, I have one. I was honest. I was like, there's a little bit of a ding. I was like, but what do you have? And he said he listed a bunch of cards. One of them was a Nylander PSA 10, and he was another guy on my list of the buy low guys. So we ended up working out a deal. I sent him my Panarin and $65 for the Nylander PSA 10. And
That's
I'm happy
sweet.
with it. Yeah, I'm happy with it just because that Panarin made me sad. Panarin turned me off of buying raw cards off eBay for the most part, unless they're like $3.
That's amazing. That's such a good story. I'm glad I invited you to that. And yeah, if anyone else is looking for invites to groups like that, again, join our Discord or get in touch. And it's kind of like it's a big community, right? Like, and we're kind of new to that community still. But the people that are doing this a lot have kind of their different places that they buy and sell. So eBay is kind of the easiest in, and you reach the most people. But
Yeah.
there's definitely other places to go look for selling and buying cards.
Yeah, I really feel like as part of this discussion, maybe our conclusions will be maybe to shy away from eBay just because of the high selling fees. So I guess the one big benefit of selling on eBay, aside from, of course, just the big crowd of people that you'll have to bid, but is the fact that it is an auction, right? You have the potential to get a card to get bid up higher than you were expecting to sell it for. If you're going to list a card on this Facebook group, you're just going to kind of have to say a price and then hope that you made the right decision and didn't say a price that was too low and you maybe could have gotten more. I guess you
Right.
could try to like negotiate. I don't know, like ask the person, like, what do you want to pay? And then like, sort of like play that whole game, just like when you're making a trade in fantasy hockey.
It
But like,
is.
yeah, eBay though, I do like that, when I listed my Gretzky rookie back when we started this thing, I didn't know how much it was worth, like a KSA for Gretzky, who knows, right? Like, so it's just like put it up and then I was able to get as much as I could until I had to pay like a 15% fee. And I didn't even know about it when I sold it. It was like a month later when they're like, here's your invoice for the month, like $150. I was like, what?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely positives and negatives to eBay. I like how easy it is. I've listed I think over 200 cards at this point. I think
Wow.
sold about 25 of them. And that's like about $500 total. And I don't know how easy that would be kind of doing all the legwork to find the right people to trade these cards to. But also I haven't done as much of that.
yeah, I guess maybe as time goes on, we'll learn and we'll see. Like, I guess you have to find the right Facebook group to post your cards on, and maybe you'll get some people interested. Depends what you're trying to sell. I looked at your eBay account, Neon Leon. I guess a big Drysidle fan over here.
Yep.
And I don't know, some of you, I feel you're like one of these eBay sellers that's like, come on, are you really gonna like your Alan Quine Young Guns listed for $25? Come
Is it
on,
at 25?
that's what
Yeah.
you put it at.
Well, um,
But that's a strategy, right? I guess we'll talk about it now. Like, if you have a card you want to sell, should you put it at $0, like $1, and try to get people to bid up on it, or should you just put it for some really high buy it now price and keep relisting it over and over again, just hoping one person will bite? Like, what was your thought process there?
well, so for buy it now, it just lists forever. It doesn't relist. So
Right.
anything that you put up for buy it now is just kind of part of your like quote unquote store. Um, Alan Quine probably listed a bit high, to be honest. But you also like my theory on eBay is you list it a little higher because people are going to send you offers. I
Oh,
always let offers come in. Um, so kind of list it a bit higher and take offers, and that also protects you a little bit from like price swings. So Alan Quine might not be the best example, but who knows? He could jump into the Oilers lineup and score 5 goals, and people lose their minds. Um, and then his card value would go up 10 or 15 bucks, and unless you're like really on top of what you have for sale, you could end up not getting the highest price you could from that card, right?
yeah, that's a very good point. Well, that's exactly what happened with these Galchenyuks, right? Or like I bought a Toffoli PSA 10 right when he got signed by Montreal, and I'm sure the seller would have, raised the price of the card if they would have had time, but just jump on it.
Right,
So
right. Yeah, so it's kind of like the ones that you have up for a long time, you're at a little bit of a risk if they go up really really fast. Now
I see.
that's not like going to be a very common thing, especially when you're in season. I think like the biggest moments for that to happen is like drafts or trades, or I guess free agent signings. Um, the only other thing I could see is if like a rookie comes in and puts up like 7 points in his first few games.
Right.
Uh,
I'm sure like Olafson on
yeah,
Buffalo or Kubalik on Chicago, they probably had a huge jump in a very short amount of time
right.
last season. Okay, well, let's go through it. So, like so you dropped a lot of info there. We're going to be talking about selling tips here. So, I guess we should just throw it out. Like with eBay, your options are you could do like a regular auction, and then you have a decision of what price to make as your starting bid. Then you could have this option of having offers where even for an auction or for a buy it now, you can say, I'll allow people to just send me an offer for just I'll buy it for this amount. Then you could just do a buy it now. And then obviously then you have a decision of whether to list it, like you said, like over the value, or do you list it for a low value if you're just trying to unload it. So maybe we could just talk through some of the, like, I don't know, pros and cons of these different selling methods, and what you gain and lose by making these different choices. Because let's say I have, let's say I want to sell my Kachuk PSA 10 right now, the one I just brought up on the top of the show. I've just raised its value by talking about it on this world famous podcast. Now I want to try to, I'm like doing like, isn't that illegal in stocks? Like, you sort of, I'm doing a pump and dump here, but like I want to sell it. Like, what would you do? And like, or what would be the thought process of deciding like how to list it, what amounts and all that?
Yeah, so I guess my process, the first thing I really do is decide what I'm going to sell. And I think that is a big part of it. You need to be aware of what you want to sell and when. So I'll generally have like a pile of things that I want to list on eBay. And that'll be for whatever reason. Like, for example, recently with the CHL draft, or I guess the NHL draft, but the CHL cards, I put all the guys from that into a pile, and I'm like, okay, these are the ones that got drafted. I'm going to list those, and then, take all the photos of each one. I've got like a little setup to take photos quickly. Um, and then I have kind of like a little eBay listing session where I list them all. I find it easier to do it all at once rather than, a one off. Maybe for like that Galchenyuk, it might be one where I'm like, okay, I want to list this one like higher value card, but generally list them all kind of at once. And I'd say there's like two different kinds of piles that I'd have. I'm either doing something that's like time based, so like there's an event that happened, like the draft, or an upcoming event might be training camp where guys are starting to get a look on their NHL rosters. And so I'll have those ready to go. And those guys I'm typically going to be doing auction style because I want those to be timely. I want their auctions to be ending as, preseason is kind of wrapping up, or right when people are getting hyped about these guys, I want those auctions to be ending. Versus buy now is typically, guys that I want to be in my quote unquote store for a while. So it's guys that like maybe they're older and their value isn't going to fluctuate much. Maybe they're retired. Kind of a lot of reasons that like I might just want to like throw them in my store.
Right. It's sort of just like you want to have your inventory. You want to always have a nice, consistent inventory of stuff for people to browse through, things that, like you say. But yeah, like during the playoffs when you had your Victor Hedman, you wanted that on auction and try to get people to just go crazy for it. And if I recall correctly, you didn't sell your Hedman. Obviously, it depends also what your situation is. Like if you're trying to make money to have cash flow to support whatever,
Right.
but obviously you need to, obviously you're Ryan thinking more in terms of like, if I could sell it for good return now, I will. And if not, I'm going to wait and try to sell it later. So
well, that gets into like the pricing strategy a little bit. And for me, it's like with a guy like Hedman, who is a superstar, and I expect, his value to go up again at some point in the future, I tend to price it a little higher, hoping that I'll get that. But if I don't, that's okay. It's Victor Hedman. He's going to be in the playoffs next year.
So can I play like a devil's advocate just for fun?
Of course.
Like, okay, so this is the way I sometimes think about it, but obviously I'm not like a professional here of selling, so I'm curious to get your thoughts. But like, let's say it was Victor Hedman right around the time he won the Conn Smythe, so his name is like everywhere. Everyone's talking about him. Had a great playoffs, and then you listed him for whatever it was, like a little bit higher than people were willing to bid on, like let's say $70, I think it was, and you didn't get any bites. Is it possible that what if you had listed it for like $10 on an auction, and then people, because I would assume like people, you see stuff that's like starting bid of $1 or $5 or whatever when it's going to go for like 100 plus. And so I'd imagine the psychology of why they would do it is they want to see people to see it while it's cheap, think, ooh, I might bid on that, add it to their watch list. Then you get the whole eBay machine working for you where they're going to be emailing the person being like, hey, only 2 days left. And then, maybe you're going to have people who didn't listen to our episode about strategic bidding and they're just going to keep, going higher and higher and higher with still like 3 days left. And next thing you know, maybe once someone's like so invested in this auction, maybe they would have spent the $70, but it's just like no one wanted to sort of like off the top of like right off the bat they didn't see that $70 is a good price. Maybe once you've bid 65 and now you're just trying to you get that game in your head where you're like, oh well, if I was willing to pay 65, it's only $5 more, so I might as well just get it.
I think for me, especially starting out, and this is maybe a tip I'd give to people that are newer sellers, I am being more conservative, so setting my prices or my starting price at something that I would accept, versus setting it much lower to gain that interest. I do think that you're right. In some cases, setting it like a lot lower than you would ever sell it for is a good strategy. But I would there's risk involved, and I'd kind of only lean towards doing that with people that I know will be searched for. Like if you're selling a McDavid PSA 10, like you can list that for $5 and it will sell for value. Because everybody is looking for it and wants it. But I got a Braden Point for at least probably $20 under value on auction, and the guy messaged me after and was like, you got a good deal on this. So it kind of didn't work out for him.
I see. Yeah. I guess if you want to give eBay even more money, they do have an option where you can put it on auction and have a reserve price. So I guess the reason why you would do that is you say like, okay, I'm going to put it for $1 to get people excited. But if it doesn't get up to this secret amount, which you set as $100 or whatever, then I'm actually not going to sell it to that person. But then eBay like charges you an extra fee for that beyond the, can I say it's like, they have a whole complicated fee structure going, and it depends on like how many, like your reviews, and it depends on how many cards you've sold and like different things. But it looks like it's around 10 to 15% potentially that they're charging you, which is a lot, right? If you sell $100 card, you're giving them $10, it's like sales tax.
Yeah, it's I like to say that you're losing 10 to 15% on every sale. Um, just to be like conservative about that as well, and kind of be realistic about how much money you're making when you sell the card, and also knowing how much you have to sell it for to actually make a
Yeah.
profit on a card that you've bought. I do think that there's some interesting science and maybe some experiments that we should run with things like that, like limit that you just mentioned. So maybe what we'll do is get like two identical cards, and we'll list them at the same time. And one person will put them in at $1, and one will put them in at like $60, where we expect the value to be, and see what happens.
That would be really fun. I guess I'd be up for it. It would be, we need to get a benefactor for the podcast that can help support all of these experiments for us. Like if there's some wealthy person that wants to fund this, we can do it with like McDavid PSA 10s. And I think that would be a very exciting experiment. But we could do it with our Galchenyuks, I guess, if we
Yeah,
want.
yeah. Or we both probably have like a Panarin or like something of that level, right?
Yeah, but I don't want to sell my Panarin. But okay. Yeah.
No, I feel you. I feel you.
Which
But
actually leads to another thing we wanted to talk about today, which is maybe the first lesson of how to sell things is deciding whether you should sell it or not. Because one thing I've noticed is if you go back and listen to like the first one or two episodes of this podcast, again, we're only on episode 7 here, so this isn't that long ago, less than 2 months ago. I remember saying, I feel like Elias Pettersson is kind of low. Like I feel like compared to some of the other big superstars, Pettersson PSA 10s are going for like 200, like maybe a little more. And I remember thinking like I think I even said on the show, like I'm gonna try to get an Elias Pettersson PSA 10 Young Guns for like around $200. And I remember I set a search on eBay, and like there were a couple of times where I was bidding on it up until like it got to 200, then it ended up going for like 210, 250. And so I was like, whatever. No, I'm not gonna get it because I'll just wait. I'm sure eventually there'll be one that I can get for less than 200. Well, fast forward, now I was dumb. Now they're selling for almost 300. Like I'm looking at auctions going for like 260, 270. So it's like, it seems to me like, and nothing, Pettersson hasn't done anything. He's probably just chilling or maybe training. I don't know. Maybe he had a good tweet that I missed, but in
well,
general,
yeah, actually, not to interrupt you, but he has been doing something. He showed up on. This is just like hilarious. This guy is an athlete. He can do whatever he wants. Someone challenged him to this like basketball challenge where you like go through the legs and do all this crazy things. He went and bought his like first basketball and could just like do it with no practice. And
whoa.
then I think it was like a couple days ago even he was on who are the two ridiculous hockey guys that like hit each other?
I don't know.
Anyways, they're like two goofs, and he was on with them, and he suited up as goalie in like full goalie gear, and he was moving like he's played goalie his whole life. It was
Wow.
nuts.
Okay, so maybe that is the reason why it's gone up because yeah, obviously hockey cards aren't only based on hockey stats. It's just based on the profile that people are talking about him getting excited. So maybe he's not the best example, but it does seem. I think I've also been following the McDavid PSA 10s,
Yeah,
and I've seen them going up again since we just started the podcast. I feel like we were looking at around 14, 1500, and now I'm seeing them selling for like 1600 plus. So it kind of seems like cards are going up right now, and I would think, and I think you've said the same thing, I would imagine, unless something crazy happens, like it should go up higher when the actual season starts. Because right now, people aren't even watching hockey. Like you'd think once the season's going and hockey's like on everyone's minds, there'll be probably more interest in buying the hockey cards, the people you're like watching on TV every day. So unless you're, yeah, so unless it's like a very specific circumstance, I wonder if now is just not a good time to sell your high valued cards because I feel like things are going to get better once the season starts.
yeah. So I have a lot of cards, kind of just you know in the hopper, waiting for the season to kick back off. Preseason, season, like just basically people to be paying attention to hockey again. Um, I think what you're talking about is partially just like the industry continuing to get more popular. So the cards are kind of slowly going up in value. But I'm hanging on to a lot of things in anticipation of hockey coming back, and then I'll probably list like hundreds of cards um, to get ready for that kind of thing. Um, but there are some things that I'll list today or that I've already listed. Obviously, I was talking about ones that I've listed already. Um, One good example is I listed all those CHL cards. So those
Right.
ones are timely because the draft just happened. They also are going to become less valuable as soon as their actual young guns come out. So like there's kind of a deadline on those. I also personally will list basically I'll call them like stale players. So like, you know, not necessarily bad players, but just players that have been in the league a long time that people aren't really that hyped about, even if they're still getting 60 points a season. Like maybe Pavelski, Couturier, like that type of guy. If I have an autograph card or something from them, I don't have any problem listing it now. Same goes for like retired guys, because like I don't really expect them to change in value unless they still have a chance at like the Hall of Fame, for example.
But like,
Um,
isn't
yeah,
it possible that if the industry just like more people are interested in hockey cards, then wouldn't the value just kind of rise up just because it's like the tide raising the sinking ship, whatever that saying is?
yeah, I think you're right, but I don't know. Like maybe those guys not so much. Like they're at
Mm.
$15, and I don't kind of like maybe they'll go to 20, but it's like not as big a deal. And as you say, people are getting into the sport now, the sport of trading hockey cards. Um,
Hey,
and they're going to be
poker.
excited about the young guys, right? Like they're going to be excited about Doc and Pedersen and whatever, and like they're going to
I
get
hear you.
those guys first.
It's funny. So I posted on our Discord channel this like eBay auction that I found, which I think is over now. I think it got
Yep.
sold. So it was like this is like if you just think the industry is gonna go up, this was and also if you're this rich benefactor that we were talking about, it was $11,000 US for an auction of 8 PSA 10s, two Crosbys, two Ovechkins, two McDavids, and two Matthews. And I did the math, and it was basically like a pretty fair value in terms of like what those cards have sold for recently. That 11,000 US was around what those cards are worth. And so that would have been, I was thinking of that could be like an index fund sort of where you're just
Right.
like buying the hockey card industry, because
Yeah.
probably if hockey cards become more popular, then Crosby, Ovechkin, McDavid, and Matthews will become more popular.
Yeah, I
So
think I said to you that like Gretzky needs to be included in there for it to be a true index, but
yeah.
I also feel like if you're spending that much in like a big pack of cards, like you should be getting a deal, not just like industry rate.
Yeah, well, I guess because all these cards are still like not too hard to get. Like if I really want a Crosby
Right.
PSA 10, I could probably get one for the fair value. But that's what I thought about the Pedersen PSA 10, and now 2 months later, and I wish I got it back when I did. So maybe we'll be listening back to this episode in 6 months and being like, man, if I had $11,000, I could have turned that into $20,000. If
Yeah.
only I
Yeah.
wasn't
I
so cheap.
yeah. I remembered another reason that I'm selling cards right now, because you're kind of wondering, what am I doing listing all these cards? Um
Well, no, I was asking for fun, like as a
well,
question. Yeah.
no, but like it's a good question. Like if the industry is going up, why list all your cards? Um, and for me, part of it is like I've never sold on eBay before, so I need to start getting an eBay rating. I need
Oh
to
yeah.
start getting higher limits. Something I found out fairly soon into this process is like when you start as an eBay seller, you're only allowed to list, I think it's 100 cards in your first month. So if you're listing a bunch of cards just to start off with, they just you just hit a brick wall, and it's not like they tell you about this before you start. So you might be like mid trying to list a bunch of cards that you want to sell, and they're like, nope, can't do that. So what happens is as you start to getting a positive seller rating on eBay, every month they kind of evaluate you, and you're like, okay, you've been getting your positive reviews. Like I've got, I think 88 or 80 positive reviews at this point, and they upped my monthly limit of how many cards I can list. So not only are you like becoming more trusted by the people buying you, which is super important, you're able to list more cards if you start doing that. So I guess like my suggestion would be is if you have like, I don't know, like inserts or like stuff that isn't like you're not expecting to go crazy, start selling now if you want to be a seller kind of ongoing.
Okay, yeah, that actually does make a lot of sense. And also, I should like not be speaking into generalities, right? Like, because I was talking about Pedersen and McDavid have gone up recently. Those are obviously special
Sure.
cases. Lap here in the chat is saying he's seen gone down recently. You're lucky to get $15 at auction, and it was selling for that like during the playoffs. So that is fair. And obviously, I guess my impression right now is that the prices seem to be going up overall, but I could be totally wrong. And I'm really excited just for the season to start because I don't collect hockey cards. Like I chose hockey cards and not basketball or football cards because I like hockey and I like watching hockey. And I feel like that's going to be a big part of it, is to have cards of people and then see how they're doing and do this whole, like, if they're doing really well, decide if I should try to sell high or not. So,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that's why we're going. This is kind of like the training session of the Near Mint Hockey Card Podcast. These are all, episodes where we're giving the basics of trying to like lay some
Right.
groundwork, and
Yeah.
then this will probably be a whole different podcast once the season starts. We won't have like today's about selling, tomorrow's about grading. It's just going to be about what happened this week. Like, should we
Right,
buy this
right.
guy?
Well, and like in a year's time, it'll be like, okay, what do I think about selling as, maybe not a novice, but like an amateur seller? Like, what
Right.
tips do you have at this point? What lessons have been learned in the last year? And something to your point about the season starting, if it does start in January, which is what they're aiming for, it's going to be a weird time in the selling and buying uh, marketplace because Christmas is coming, so shipping is going to get nuts.
Oh,
So that's something I'm thinking about with listing cards a little bit. And then the season is going to start a bit after that when the post office and FedEx and all these people are still playing catch up. So, that doesn't really affect you if you're investing in a card more long term. But if you're someone that's trying to, say, like flip a card in a month or less, that could become pretty difficult.
yeah, that's interesting. Like, I guess that's something you have to consider. Man, there's so many aspects that you have to be considering when you're deciding when to buy and sell stuff. I didn't think about how like the shipping gets more difficult around Christmas time. I guess you could also think like you should be trying to sell cards that you think might make for good Christmas gifts. I don't really know what that means, but I feel like that seems to make sense
No,
somewhat in my head.
it's true. It's true. Yeah. And if you have that type of card, maybe you'll get a little bit of a bump if it's like someone's favorite player.
Is there like any Matthews wearing a Santa hat or
Oh
something like
my
that
god.
out there?
Or like the St. Pat's one.
Don't you think that like Upper Deck should release a holiday themed pack, like
I
set
I
of
would
this
not be
players?
surprised if that already exists.
There are sometimes like hockey teams come out with like funny pictures of like all the players in ugly Christmas sweaters or something. So just throw that on some cards, and I'm sure people would want them.
I'm sure there's a collector out there collecting like weird cards or, you know, even Halloween costumes or like specific stuff like that.
You know that I've been so obsessed with this like whole collecting thing now that like I was watching an episode of Sopranos recently. My wife and I are watching through the series. We're only on like season 3 right now, just on start of season 3. And there's this whole storyline where don't worry, I'm not gonna spoil something big, but like Tony's sister wants to get her hands on her mom's record collection because there's some like gem records in like
Mm,
mint condition. Like they're referring that
yeah.
they think like the right collector will sell it. And it's like I was just thinking, like, I wonder how much those records are worth. And like back then, I don't think eBay was like a big thing. I wonder how was she planning on selling those records? Like I was totally lost on the actual story of the drama of her like bullying the maid into trying to get her to give her the records. But it was more just like, how are you going to sell those records? I want to know.
Yeah, because it's like the olden times and like what are you doing with those?
Yeah, is she gonna find like an agent or like sell it to an auction house and then get? I don't know. I would be curious to get the whole story there. But
Maybe
maybe I'm
actually.
not done the season yet, so maybe it'll come back. I don't know if the records have been resolved. Okay, so I see here in our notes for the episodes, I definitely want to get to this before we close. You've got some trials and tribulations, like stories of your adventures in eBay. So I definitely think you should share some
Yeah.
of these with the
Yeah.
listeners.
So one thing, and it's actually outside of there, but related, is kind of one of my biggest tips is like to be organized with your cards. If you only have 10, like you're going to be fine. But if you start ending up with a bunch of cards, it's important to have those cards organized by, ones that you're keeping, ones that you want to list, um, and especially separating the ones that you have listed, uh, or the ones that have already sold that you need to send out. Um, there was a situation where I sold a card on eBay, a Heiskanen Rookie Authentics, which is just a different. It's just a rookie card. It's not like a true rookie card. Um, and I looked through every card I have and could not find the card.
Oh no.
So I was like, what do I do? Right?
Wait, so like what do you think happened to it?
So either I lost it, like it's like somewhere in my apartment, but I think it's more likely that I sold another set of Heiskanen cards. It was a set of four,
And you gave it as a
and I
bonus?
just like added it to that pile unwittingly, and
How
so
much is
that
that worth? Just to get a sense of this mess up.
I think it sold for like $5.50.
Okay, so it's not as if like you gave someone like $100 worth of Haskinen. Okay, cool. All right, continue. So what
Yeah,
did you do?
yeah.
So you have someone that you sold it to on eBay. You have to send them the card. Does eBay have a policy for that?
Well, eBay does have like a way of like canceling orders and all this stuff, but my policy is like, you're like any store. Like you have to make your customers happy. And so what I did was I reached out to this person that bought it directly and basically said sorry. And what can I do for you? And basically like, can I sell you another card or whatever? Like I'll give you a deal on something because I screwed this up. Um, and so what ended up happening is he saw that I was selling a Jamie Benn that I had listed, and I think I listed it for $75. Say, I had bought it for I think 25. Um, I'm probably a little bit off on these prices, but that's the gist of it. So I was listing it like quite high, and so this guy was interested in it, and basically I offered him this card at I think it was $50 or 55. In any case, I made like $10 on it where I was hoping to kind of invest in it. And made him happy, sent him that card. And I was just looking through my reviews, I think yesterday or the day before, and he gave me a positive review and even said in it like, didn't have the card but like made it right.
Oh, so there you go. So, and in the end, I'll bet you it was still a good sale. Like, I'd be curious to know if that Jamie Benn is still worth as much because Ben had that spike in the playoffs, and now who wants Jamie Benn cards right now?
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, it wasn't a total failure
Right.
in terms of a flip, but yeah,
But yeah, I mean, yeah. I obviously, yeah. The point of your story is that if something crazy like that happens, you probably don't want to risk your eBay rating in exchange for like trying to make the most money because this could end up costing you money, not only in terms of sales, but eBay. I think I saw that you have to pay higher fees if you have like returned cards or like returned. They don't say it as cards. Like if you've had things you've sold returned, that like
oh,
is a hit to you and you pay higher fees. So you have to be careful to not get bad reviews or to have things happen.
right, yeah, yeah. I mean, there's that, and there's also the fact that I think in the industry, or at least it's what I've seen in a few places. If you see a seller rating that's below 99%, which basically means like almost all of the reviews are positive, like it's suspicious. So people aren't going to trust you as much if you have like a 95% sales rating, because obviously things have gone wrong. You kind of have to screw things up to not get a good rating.
Yeah. By the way, Lap in the chat room here has a trial and tribulation where he got a card at a sick price, and then the seller canceled, and just said, "This is what Lap wrote." The seller said, "What are you gonna do?"
Oh my god. Yeah, I
And
mean that's kind of the issue, right? Like eBay has the ability to cancel on both sides. So you can have that happen to you if you're the buyer, and the seller can just be like, "Nah," which apparently is becoming a bit of an issue. Or something that happened to me is I sold a pair of Lafreniere cards. Actually, I've sold this pair of Lafreniere cards twice now. And the first time, the user messaged me and was like, "Oh, I misread your listing," and he just canceled it. And I was like, "Oh, okay." And like it's on auction, so like the auction ended.
so now you
Uh,
have to like do it
like
all over again.
when I wanted it to end and all this stuff, right? And like, so he won it, but then was like, "I don't want it." And I was like, "All right, fine, I'll approve this." And then I relisted them and they sold again to a different person. And they've just been sitting in like not paid for, I think, almost 2 weeks.
Oh no.
And like I keep sending them the invoice. I actually had to like do the official eBay like make a claim thing, uh, to try and get it figured out. So yeah, like sometimes people just don't pay for what they bought.
Man, so I guess another reason to maybe get into these Facebook groups, because eBay, you're gonna have some issues. Obviously, you could, this, like the most profits, like obviously there's these sellers who are selling like hundreds of cars a month, and they've got a whole business going, and it's worth it for them to go through all of this. But maybe if you only have one or two cars to sell, maybe, yeah, one of the lessons I've started to take away is it's good to maybe look elsewhere
Yeah.
first. But of course, what you're saying makes sense, that you're someone who, you've told me that your dream, or one of your dreams, is like maybe to quit your job and like become a full-time hockey card store owner. So in that case, you probably do want to have a really good eBay rating. So it probably is worth selling a lot of stuff there just to like raise your profile, because that'll help you if you ever want to make a big career change in the future.
Yeah, and it's just like eBay is just a bit safer on both sides as well,
Well, that's true.
because you do have to have a level of trust with anyone in like a
Some
third
random
party
Facebook group.
group, right? Like
Yeah.
it's a very direct transaction, and they're very good about like vetting people and making sure everything's cool, but I don't know how much I would send to someone on a group just to like imagine you're buying like that Crosby Young Guns and it's like $3,000. Like, are you just sending them 3K?
Yeah, that would be very, yeah, exactly. Like the person who I got this Nylander from in exchange for my Panarin and $65. Worst case, I lose my Panarin and $65.
Right.
But like, yeah, it's not like 3 grand. That's
Yeah,
that's a
yeah.
very good point. Though it was pretty funny. After I made that deal, the guy sent me a video on Facebook, like a video message, being like, "Okay, man, here you go." And it's like him, like with the envelope. Like he showed me putting it in the envelope. He sent me a picture, and then he had a video of him putting the envelope into the mailbox. Like, "Okay, here you go. Good luck." And it's like,
That's great. Yeah, I mean, I have found that in general, the community is amazing. People will send you photos of the things that they're shipping, like the packaging and everything, and I've had no issues with it. So it like definitely look into these other avenues, but just be careful.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, don't hold us responsible if you join a Facebook group and then get ripped off by someone. But the one that you invited me to seems pretty good. So
Yeah, it
I don't know
is.
if people want to come on the Discord, and then Ryan will send you an invite. I think it so far seems good. I mean, I actually haven't gotten this Nylander yet, but I saw the video of him dropping it in the mail. It was only at the end of
That
last week,
seems
so
real.
I think it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what anything else you want to discuss about selling cards before we sign off for the week?
Um, I don't think there's anything like huge that I want to talk about. I think maybe we'll end on like
The
stuff that
Galchenyuk.
I might sell. Yeah, like the Galchenyuk. Um, I was looking at selling a couple Hall of Famer cards whenever they do that, but apparently they're delaying the next Hall of Fame induction a whole year. So,
Why?
um, I think because they want the ceremony to be really special for those people,
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
and it's not as special right now.
You don't have
And
people actually there.
yeah, there's no real hurry, right, to give
Mhm.
them those awards. So yeah, I mean, in that case, it's kind of nice if you want to invest in the next class, which is Alfredson, the Sedins, Zetterberg, McGillney, those types of guys. Um, but as far as like what I'm selling next, right now I just have kind of a stack of inserts that I might list. But I'm mostly waiting. But what do you think about the Galchenyuk? What are we thinking?
Okay, well here's my current thought process. Let me know what you think. Maybe in the chat room here we've got Mathieu and we have Lap. Maybe they can help break the tie here if we disagree. But so like you said that you could sell it right now and make like $20 profit, which is pretty good.
Well, I bought it for 32. If I sold it at 50, I only get 90% of that.
True. Okay.
So
So that's $5 off.
five
So you're
dollars
making
off.
$10, let's say.
So I'd be making 13 on my
Right.
Alex Galchenyuk PSA 10.
Okay,
If
so you could make $13. You're good. Galchenyuk PSA 10. So then what could happen? Like I think preseason starts. Maybe you could, if theoretically you could wait till like preseason, and let's say Galchenyuk comes out strong. And sometimes players who aren't even that good have like a strong preseason. He's probably very motivated. But I guess a lot of young players also are going to be motivated to make a good showing on preseason. But like I could see potentially like some hype going up for him going into the season. The Sens are going to want to justify bringing him in, maybe. Maybe he's, the coach is talking about how like they're excited about what they're seeing. He's like a brand new brand new person. So maybe like you could wait and sell it like in preseason, or you could like just wait for the season to start. And then I feel like things could go one of two ways. Or like Galchenyuk can theoretically rejuvenate his career. Like he was a former third overall pick. He scored 30 goals way back when for the Habs, like in like 2016-17, which isn't like so long ago. He's only like 25, 26 years old. So theoretically, we would have thought about this when he went to Arizona, or we would have thought this when he went to Pittsburgh, and we would have thought this when he went to Minnesota. But I guess one more time, we could say like maybe here's where he can rejuvenate his career and make something of himself. And in that case, maybe you can sell it for like 60, I don't know, whatever. Like, because a PSA 10, you don't even have to be that good, I think, to be worth like $50-$60.
Yeah.
Especially in Ottawa's a good market. So theoretically, he's on the top power play. Like I'm taking the best case scenario. I think definitely you're selling him this year because I don't think the Sens have him in their long-term future. And then who knows where he goes afterwards. So your best case scenario is he has a hot start and you sell him then. The worst case is he makes the team, or maybe he doesn't make the team, right? That's the worst case. No. Or he like makes the team, but it's like a bottom sixer, does nothing. Maybe by the time the trade deadline comes, he's not even playing every game. He's getting healthy scratched. And then the contract runs out. And then next thing we know, we see next summer that he signed in Switzerland and he's like done his NHL career. And in that case, that card will be worth like nothing. Like I don't think you'll be able to find anyone willing to buy it, and you'll probably lose the whole $30. So, I don't know. The safe move would probably be just to sell it now. But if you want to try to make an extra $10-$20 by waiting, I guess you could.
So my counter argument would be, and I think like for me, I'm probably going to like put an auction up that ends when the preseason ends. So like he'll get some hype in the preseason because hopefully he can like do something in the preseason. It's not that hard. And then maybe sell it for like $70, kind of double the value on it. But the reason that I don't think I'd sell it right now is when you look at the PSA 10 Young Guns on eBay and you sort by it now by like lowest price, there's like 5 guys that are under $32. Like you're looking at like Zach Bogosian, Max Lajoie, like Nick Ritchie, Ryan Donato is 35. So
to be fair, like
all at worst, $32.
I mean, Ryan Donato went to Nashville or Minnesota. He just got traded recently, and I don't know. I'm kind of excited about him to maybe do something. I have more faith in Ryan Donato than Alex Galchenyuk for next season.
Okay, well, here's one. Curtis Lazar is $38.
Yeah, but for sale or has been sold?
Well, for sale, but I'm just looking at like the ones that are there. And it's like, he like all I'm saying is like he'd be one of the cheapest possible PSA 10s you could buy.
Yeah. So, well, the question is, will someone buy it? Like you're making the argument that like you think at the very worst you could sell it for 30, but like get back to me when that Curtis Lazar sells, and then we'll talk.
Well,
I guess at some point maybe Lazar himself will just pick it up just to stop embarrassing himself.
Is Lazar still playing?
I don't know. He was on Ottawa. He got moved at one point, and I thought
he was on Calgary maybe now.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. So I don't know, but at some point, I just feel like a player that has no buzz at all. Like, why is someone spending $30 on their PSA 10 card unless they're related to him? Oh no, I probably shouldn't say. I'm not gonna say who it is, but there's not actually former NHL player, but there's a former hockey player that just started working at my company today, and I found his profile on Elite Prospects, and he's actually available for Mathieu and I to draft in our prospects draft if we wanted to, but we wouldn't because I know for a fact that he works as a salesman and not as a hockey player. So
does he have a hockey card?
You know what? Maybe not an Upper Deck one, right? Because he doesn't have an NHL game.
Yeah, fair enough. You should buy one. That would be funny.
So Matthew said in the chat that he thinks that you should sell the Galchenyuk, and he's a Habs fan, so he's seen close up that he's not very good apparently.
He might have also been influenced by how much the Habs fans did not like Galchenyuk.
Yeah, of course, and obviously management wants to make themselves sound smart by making him the scapegoat. So okay, deal. I say I'm going to agree with Matt and say to sell it, but I think I'm with you for like wait till training camp. He's probably not going to like have such a terrible training camp, right? Like he's got to at least do something, and maybe who knows, maybe he even starts the season on a good line. If he could be playing with Brady Tkachuk, that'd be huge. And that top power play isn't exactly stacked on Ottawa. Like he doesn't have to bump too many people. Like he'll maybe have to bump like Connor Brown or something to get onto the top power play. So maybe it's possible.
Okay, and I have a vote in the chat for would not sell from Lapper here. So it's a split decision. I think
hold for now.
We're gonna hold at least until like hockey starts getting fun again. And
okay, and then when you decide to sell it, let me know because I'm gonna have mine also, and then we'll put it up with different prices and we'll do our experiment. We'll have some fun.
That'll be great. I'm excited to see what happens there.
So this has been another fun episode of the Near Mint Hockey Card Podcast. Look at that. I feel like this feels like we just started. It's already been almost an hour. So I guess just talking about hockey cards, we could do it all night, but we might as well stop now and we could start our after show with the people watching live. Do you have anything to open for us today?
No, nothing to open today. But if you have questions or comments on anything we've talked about today, please drop them in the comments or join us in Discord. And I'm looking forward to opening more packs. So if there's like a certain box or type of card you want me to open, connect with us as well and let us know what you'd like me to open on the show.
Yeah, definitely. We want to hear from you. Okay, so we've got all the links in the show notes: Twitter, Instagram, get on our Discord. We want to talk hockey cards. So yeah, it's Near Mint Hockey on all the places. So thanks again for listening. We hope you enjoyed episode 7 about selling. And I guess one thing, if you want to talk to us about, is you can let us know what you want us to talk about next week. We'll come up with something. But if you have a suggestion, we don't have anything locked in right now. So let us know what you want. But yeah, thanks again. Nice talking with you, Ryan. And I actually, so another, guess what I'm going to do now? It's all related to this hockey card thing now. Because now I've been going on Kijiji to look for hockey cards. And now since I've been on Kijiji, all of a sudden I have my brain in this like Kijiji mode where I'm just looking to buy lots of things for good value. And I was hanging out with some friends last week, and one of them, she was saying that she just got a Roomba and it's amazing. And she's just like sitting there and it's like cleaning her whole apartment. Like, you know, I've heard of them. They seem cool, but I never actually considered buying one. But then she was talking about it. I was like, I looked on Kijiji and I saw a really good deal. And so now I'm going to Liberty Village as soon as we're done recording, and I'm gonna go pick up this Kijiji for pick up this Roomba for half price. I'm gonna bring it back in my knapsack, and I'm really excited to see how this thing works. And I probably would not have thought to go and get that if it wasn't for getting into buying and selling hockey cards.
Here, I thought you were gonna like package it up and put it on eBay.
Yeah, I'll sell it right away.
Flip it.
Actually, I think the main profit I'm gonna make from this Roomba is I have a feeling my dog is gonna totally freak out, and I'm planning on filming, turning on the Roomba, and then seeing Cody just go nuts. And who knows, maybe it'll be such a great video that I'll end up putting it on YouTube and it'll go viral, and I'll get rich from that. So,
you know, I think your dog should probably make an appearance in one of our Instagram posts, like you know, sorting hockey cards or something.
I could do that. She better not mess up one of my cards though, or I'll be very upset. But
maybe do it with one of your old cards that like has lost all its value.
Yeah, okay. Good deal. Or I'll like wait until she's like napping, and then I'll just put it beside her and she won't even know that the picture's being taken.
Sure.
All right. Thanks everyone. Talk to you next week.